The Asics Novablast 5 versus the Puma MagMax Nitro. I can't believe these two are being compared right now. They're both incredible shoes, but which one comes out on top? Let's talk about it and find out. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed watching content. Thanks so much, love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other updates and things of that sort. So without further ado, let's begin. Specs for both shoes somewhere up here where you can see them. This is crazy. First and foremost, these are like the two most hyped daily trainers I've heard of in the year 2025. Again, this is just what I've heard. Others may have other shoes that are better and more brand bias towards what they consider the better daily trainer, but Puma is going through what I read is like their renaissance period right now with coming into the running market and just delivering banger after banger product, and I totally agree with it. Like, the material and the shoe concepts coming out from Puma are excellent. That being said, Asics is coming out strong also with a lot of great race day material shoes, daily trainers that are blowing people's feet away since at least 2020, 2021. So in the running market, again, me having my biases both for and against Nike, I see Asics and Puma being like some of the upper echelon competitors as well in the daily market space, right? So when I'm comparing these two daily trainers, it really goes both ways. Like, these are both incredible daily trainers. They just have little things between them that I think distinguish them from each other, and a lot of things that make them similar, and really, my decision might not be as important as what you feel in both shoes, but all I can do is just kind of give you some of my thoughts and recommendations, and you just kind of work with that. So again, spec-wise, Asics Novablast 5, as you saw on the screen. Main specs to note here is that this thing is about 9 grams on average, giving it about 255 grams in like a size 8.5, size 9. So it runs about where you would expect it as a daily trainer, right? In our heel, we have a 41.5 millimeter heel. We have about 33.5 in the forefoot. That gives us about this 8 millimeter offset across the shoe, right? Spec-wise, MagMax. A little bit similar in terms of the offset. We do have an 8 millimeter offset, but we have a 47 millimeter heel, and we have a 39 millimeter forefoot. So in terms of foam stacks, the MagMax clearly has the bigger stack, but this comes with both its pros and cons, right? Main things to note here, again, is that with this max stack, and I've talked about this in a previous review, is that the stability of this shoe greatly hits a critical mass where you start experiencing a lot more discomfort in your ankle wobble. I guess your ankle is going to wobble a lot more in this particular shoe than something like the Novablast 5, which runs even slightly lower to the ground despite having over a 40 millimeter heel. But that being said, there's a lot more comfort that's being offered with the MagMax 5 as a result, or at least that's the idea with having this much more foam across the shoe. Now, when we talk about fit, I would say the Asics Novablast 5 has a really good fit across the shoe. From my experience, you know, it's standard, it's not too tight, it's not too loose, even across the upper material that's presented here in the shoe. Very easy to clean, and I don't see any wear and tear on the shoe after, 300 plus miles on it. The only thing it really needs now is just probably a wash. But yeah, as we see in the upper, there's a little bit busy with this like pull tab that we got here, the gusseted tongue, just a standard textile mesh running across the shoelaces, and we have some woven shoe eyelids running across the shoe there. So I was thinking that maybe these would snap after such a distance, but at this point they're holding in pretty well. And I think the purpose here is that if they're like this glued sort of toughened eyelid rope material exists in this area of the shoe, it prevents it from bunching up and causing the forefoot area to shrink for you. So that's sort of the idea here, and I think it's working well for the Novablast. Doesn't feel like my foot has really changed shape in this shoe at this time. Only thing to really note is just watching out for how the feel of the shoe at 300 plus miles really is, and I do have a review that goes into a little bit more depth of the strike patterns of the shoe and what's working and sort of what's not, right? Now when we go into the MagMax, I only have about 50 plus miles, so I'm still kind of getting into the spin of things with this shoe, just trying to feel it out, get it in the right place. Overall, very comfortable shoe. Again, similar to the Novablast 5. It fits like a glove. It has a lot of space for you to work around with. It gets tight when you need it to be. The only thing that's interesting right now is it's lean enough on the top of your foot that when you slide your foot in and you slide it out, I see that the insole of the shoe and sort of the upper material kind of moves with your foot like a glove, and as a result it started ripping some of this mesh textile material, as you can see right there. So that's just something I noticed right off the rip at a short amount of distance like right now. I will say, in terms of tongues of the shoe and like the shoelace patterns, I like the MagMax a lot more because it's a lot more stiff and it doesn't move around nearly as much off the foot as the Novablast 5 does. So as you can see, I was telling you like how it's busy with material. Like this tongue, the gusseted tongue might end up going off to the side like this. The pull tab might end up also being off to the side where it's just completely requires a complete readjustment. You can't like slide into this shoe just right away and go for it. You need to like sit down, get it fit. You just need to go through a couple of extra steps, which is no big deal. It's just a convenience thing if you really care about it. But the MagMax 5 keeps it quite simple. The tongue doesn't really break itself out of position. It's not as gusseted as this one is, but again, this one does have a pull tab as well. It's just a thicker piece that also you would tie over with the shoelaces, so it's not really cutting into the top of your foot, more or less. Depending on how you tie it, you might not even tie it this way. You might just tuck in your shoelaces. I don't know. That's just a kind of something to think about as we go into it. But again, in terms of both of the shoes where they stand spec-wise, they are single foam stack, no carbon plate, daily trainer material, right? The question that you guys are probably asking, which I don't think I can answer honestly because I have no clue in the long run which one it is, which one's the better daily trainer. Like, I've had this shoe for 300 plus miles. I've had this one for only about 50. You would want to think that in terms of long-term performance, the Novablast 5 is in a better position, and I would agree. Like, the shoe at 300 plus miles has been doing great. I still use it to this day. It's still comfortable. Granted, it's got some interesting strike pattern zone sort of extra feels that I'm experiencing with it. So like some days I'll feel more burning sensation in the middle area of this shoe right here in the foam. Some days I'm experiencing more on the exterior, anterior sides of the foam with the rubber. So it's getting to the point where the shoe will eventually have to be retired, but at 300 plus miles, still feeling comfortable and still being usable. This is just an excellent everyday trainer that is great for my recovery and everyday workouts, as well as the MagMax, which has also got really great, I would say, variety of where I can use it. I've been using it on my recovery runs. I have been using it on my easy days. I've even accidentally used it on a tempo session off the bike when I was doing my triathlon training. So I was trying to push in the shoe to like 7-minute flat pace, and the shoe will keep up just fine. It has stunned me in that sort of way where I can push the pace and it doesn't feel like I'm running on a stiff brick or anything of that sort. Granted, the foam is doing its job to reduce sort of that impact both on my ankles, joints, knees, hip bones. You know, that's the purpose of the shoe, is to limit as much of that impact as possible, but not completely zero it out, right? We don't want to be like zero gravity when running. We need some stress for the body to adapt accordingly, right? So the only real difference between both shoes is going to be how much foam is being used, where the MagMax has so much more foam and as a result weighs slightly more than the Asics Novablast 5, which doesn't have nearly as much foam. So the question really for you is, how close of a shoe do you want to your race day shoe if you have a race day shoe? And we're talking like a Vaporfly Next Percent, an Alphafly, a Hoka Rocket X, or I don't know, like a Saucony Endorphin Speed, right? The closer you are to I would say, a mid-stack shoe, the closer you would probably be to your race day shoe. Now, there are some race day shoes that follow, like, for example, the Vaporfly, where it's like a 40mm heel, 32 in the forefoot. This shoe gets very close to those specs. So if you want to get one-to-one with those specs, the Novablast is probably the right move for mimicking your race day shoe. as close as possible without the carbon plate. Whereas if you want to deviate from the race day shoe entirely to something far more comfortable that has a little bit more variety in the recovery space, the MagMax might be a more niche choice for that style workout, right? So all that being said, they're both excellent. They will both, if we had a Venn diagram for both shoes, like, the differences between them are so marginal, but the space they share is so much greater because of what they are in terms of the shoes in their respective categories for each brand. So I like the Novablast 5. I'm currently finding out if I like the MagMax Nitro, but just because I've had the Novablast 5 for so much longer and I've experienced a little bit more with it, I'm leaning for this shoe as my current favorite, but we're still a couple of hundred of miles to see whether the MagMax Nitro will stack up and be a great shoe at 300 plus miles as well. So maybe down the line I will do this review again and maybe I'll change my mind about the MagMax Nitro, but we will see when we get there. So if you agree or disagree with the assessment, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I think that's where we're going to leave it for now. So thanks again for the watch, for the likes, and I will see you guys real soon.